Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something fascinating. The hidden life of movies. What happens behind the scenes, specifically with scenes that get cut? Because every film you love, it has this kind of shadow version, right? Made up of all the bits left on the cutting room floor. And we're asking, what if they hadn't been cut?
It's a great question. Because these aren't just, deleted extras for a DVD. Some of these moments could have totally changed how we see characters, how franchises developed, maybe even pop culture itself.
It's like exploring alternate movie universes.
Exactly. We're talking about how incredibly powerful absence can be in storytelling. What's not there can sometimes shape the experience just as much as what is.
So let's dive into these what-ifs, these hidden narratives, and see how fragile movie history really is. Okay, so first off, why do scenes get cut? I mean, we assume it's because they're bad, maybe bad acting or something.
Well, sometimes, sure, but often it's much more strategic than just quality control. Pacing is a huge one. Does it slow things down too much?
Like flow.
Exactly. Or tone. A scene might be great on its own, maybe it's funny, but it just doesn't fit the overall mood the director's going for. It jars.
Okay.
And then there's revealing too much too soon, killing the suspense, or, the practical stuff, runtime limits for theaters, or maybe test audiences reacted badly, or the studio got nervous about something a bit risky.
So it's this complex mix of art and commerce, really.
Absolutely. And it's wild how removing just a few seconds, maybe even a single line, because of one of those reasons, can completely reroute how you, the viewer, understand everything. A character's motivation, the villain's plan, even the feeling you leave the cinema with.
It's like that butterfly effect, but for movies.
That's a perfect way to put it. Tiny changes, potentially huge consequences for how the story lands.
So let's dig into an example, Return of the Jedi. A lot of fans know this one. The scene where Luke actually builds his green lightsaber.
Right, in a cave on Tatooine. It's quite a deliberate scene. He's meditating, using the Force, carefully assembling it.
Yeah, very calm, very focused. It clearly shows he's mastered his skills. He's ready before he goes to Jabba's palace. But in the movie we got, he just shows up with it.
And that cut makes a huge difference. Without seeing the preparation, his arrival at Jabba's feels incredibly sudden, almost shocking. Who is this guy? Where did he get this new power, this dark confidence?
It adds mystery.
Exactly. It makes him seem like this fully formed, maybe even slightly dangerous Jedi master who just emerged. If the cave scene was in, you'd understand his readiness explicitly. It would feel more like a logical progression.
Less impactful, perhaps.
Arguably, yes. The surprise factor, the sense that he's undergone this transformation off screen, it gives his entrance real weight. It forces you to fill in the gaps, which can make a character feel more mythic, more powerful.
So it really poses the question, which Luke do you prefer? The one whose training montage we see, or the one who arrives like a force of nature? Okay, let's think about another one, maybe more recent. Captain Marvel. There was a deleted scene where Carol is just flying, like testing out her powers, having fun with it.
Yes, after she gets her memories back, she's soaring, smiling, clearly reveling in her abilities. It's a moment of pure, unadulterated joy and power.
But in the final film, her first big flight sequence is much more about action, escaping the Kree. It's serious business.
Right, and cutting that joyful flight scene subtly changes our first impression of her post-memory return. We miss that glimpse of sheer exhilaration, that almost childlike wonder at what she can do.
So she comes across as more focused, maybe a bit more stoic immediately.
Yeah, more mission-driven straight away. We lose that little beat of personal triumph, of her just embracing the power for its own sake. It slightly shifts the tone of her character right at that crucial moment.
Interesting how even a moment of fun can change the feel.
Yeah.
Now, what about scenes that go even further? Not just tweaking perception, but like fundamentally rewriting a character or the whole mood of a film.
Ah, yes. This is where it gets really fascinating. We're talking about edits that change the entire emotional core, the psychological takeaway. These are the cuts that can completely alter a film's legacy.
Okay, the big example here has to be Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, right? That deleted hospital epilogue.
Oh, absolutely. It's almost unthinkable now. Imagine, after all the terror, seeing Wendy and Danny recovering in a hospital. Ullman, the hotel manager, even visits them, wishes them well, maybe implies things are back to normal at the Overlook.
It sounds neat, like it ties things up.
Precisely. It provides closure. It frames it as a survival story. They faced the horror and they got out. The nightmare ended.
But Kubrick cut it.
He cut it right before wide release, apparently, and by removing that neat little bow, he preserved the eternal dread. The ending we have with that final chilling zoom into the 1921 photo with Jack smiling. It only works because there is no closure.
It means the horror's cyclical, it's still there.
Exactly. It lingers. It's ambiguous. Is Jack part of the hotel now? Was he always? Removing the hospital scene transforms the film from a terrifying ghost story into this enduring psychological puzzle box. That lack of resolution is key to its power, why we still talk about it.
It makes the horror feel inescapable, not just something they survived.
Mm.
Wow.
Hmm.
Okay, another huge one. Titanic. That alternate ending with Old Rose and the necklace.
Right, the heart of the ocean. In the deleted version, she doesn't just drop it into the sea privately. She actually shows it to Brock Lovett, the treasure hunter, and his crew first. They all see it.
They react right, like, wow, you had it all this time.
Yeah, they're surprised, maybe a bit of lecturing from Lovett's sidekick about its value, then this kind of shared moment as she lets it go.
But the final version is just her alone at the railing.
And that difference is everything. Keeping it private makes her gesture deeply personal, poetic. It's about her, Jack, and the ocean, a final, quiet release of her grief and her past.
Making it public would have felt different, maybe less powerful.
Yeah, I think so. It risks feeling performative, like she's doing it for them. It could easily tip into melodrama, maybe even feel a bit cheesy, honestly. Cameron's choice to cut that interaction preserves the intimate, tragic magic of that final moment. It lets you, the viewer, share that private moment with her rather than watching others watch her.
It keeps the focus entirely on her emotional journey.
Exactly.
Let's consider Blade Runner, Ridley Scott's film.
Hmm.
There's a small deleted bit, isn't there, where Deckard tries to buy Rachel a
What?
gift.
Yes, a really subtle but meaningful moment. He's trying to buy her something from a street vendor, and the vendor just casually dismisses her as a skin job, the slur for replicants.
Oof. And how does Deckard react in that cutscene?
He doesn't make a big scene. He just gets this look on his face of discomfort, maybe a flash of anger or sadness. He's clearly affected by the casual dehumanization of someone he's starting to care about.
So it shows his internal conflict, his growing empathy, much more explicitly than in the final cut.
Absolutely. In the versions we mostly know, his journey towards caring for Rachel is more internal, more ambiguous, especially early on. You piece it together. This scene would have given us a clearer, earlier signposts that he's not just the detached bounty hunter. He's already being protective, feeling the injustice.
So cutting it makes him seem a bit colder, maybe, or just more enigmatic.
Yeah, more enigmatic, I'd say. It keeps his inner world more hidden, makes his transformation perhaps more subtle over the course of the film. It's that choice again. Show the emotion directly, or let the audience infer it. Cutting it leans towards inference.
Right, okay, so let's scale this up even more. Franchises. Huge cinematic universes. How can deleted scenes potentially rewrite the history of something like, say, the MCU?
Oh, this is where the stakes get astronomical. We're talking about decisions that could have altered billions of dollars in box office, years of storytelling plans, the whole shape of modern blockbusters.
And the prime example has to be Iron Man, the first one. That deleted post-credits scene with Nick Fury.
The alternate version, yeah, where he doesn't just mention the Avenger Initiative, he explicitly references mutants and radioactive spiders.
Whoa! Back in 2008.
Exactly. Before Disney owned Fox or had the Spider-Man deal with Sony sorted out. Imagine if they'd left that line in.
The fan speculation would have exploded. But also, the legal headaches.
Immense. It would have set expectations impossibly high, potentially boxing Marvel Studios in creatively and legally right from the start. They might have faced pressure to deliver on characters they didn't even have the rights to use yet.
So cutting that line wasn't just about story. It was hardcore business strategy.
Absolutely. It was incredibly shrewd, whether by luck or design. It let the MCU build its own world first, on its own terms, with the characters it controlled. It delayed that crossover potential, sure, but it allowed them the freedom to establish their foundation.
And then bring those other characters in much later, when the time and the deals were right.
Precisely. That strategic silence, that omission, was crucial to the MCU's carefully planned stage-by-stage growth into the behemoth it became.
Okay, let's jump to Middle-earth. Lord of the Rings, specifically the Two Towers. The extended editions have those Boromir flashbacks.
Yes, scenes showing Boromir with Faramir, their father Denethor, before Boromir left for Rivendell. We see their relationship more clearly.
And in the theatrical cut, Faramir can come across initially as, well, a bit colder, definitely living in Boromir's shadow, especially with Denethor's favoritism.
Right. He seems stern, duty-bound, maybe even a bit resentful. But those flashbacks add so much nuance. You see the affection between the brothers, the immense pressure Faramir is under, his loyalty, the burden he carries.
It makes his later choice, letting Frodo go with the ring, feel even more significant because you understand the internal struggle, the temptation to finally win his father's approval by taking it.
Exactly. It paints him as a much more tragic, complex figure right away. Peter Jackson kept those for the extended cuts, which became a treat for dedicated fans who wanted that deeper dive.
But it does make you wonder, if those scenes had been in the theatrical release, would mainstream audiences have understood Faramir's arc better from the get-go?
It's a classic dilemma, isn't it? Pasting for a 3-hour epic versus deeper, immediate character insight. Keeping them out arguably makes Faramir's ultimate nobility more surprising, but maybe at the cost of some audiences not fully grasping the depth of his character initially.
A trade-off. Okay, one more Star Wars example because it's so key. Revenge of the Sith. There were deleted scenes showing the Jedi Council being much more suspicious of Palpatine earlier on, right?
Yeah.
And Palpatine may be revealing more of his hand to Anakin sooner.
Yes, several scenes showing Padme and others forming an early rebellion against Palpatine's growing power, and the Jedi actively investigating him, expressing clear distrust, and scenes where Palpatine is perhaps a bit less subtle in grooming Anakin.
So if those had stayed in, how would that change Anakin's fall?
It would make it feel less like a tragic, manipulated fall from grace, and perhaps more like a conscious choice made with more awareness of Palpatine's nature. The Jedi would also seem less naive, less caught off guard by Order 66.
It'd make the tragedy maybe less potent if you saw it coming more clearly.
Potentially. The final cut emphasizes Anakin's perceived betrayal by the Jedi Council and his desperate, somewhat blind trust in Palpatine to save Padme. It frames his turn as this terrible, swift culmination of fear and manipulation. Leaving those other scenes in might make his actions seem more calculated, less driven by desperation.
It removes some of the ambiguity around his motives, maybe.
Yeah, and it lessens the shock value of Palpatine revealing himself as the Sith Lord. By keeping the Jedi's suspicions and Palpatine's manipulations slightly more veiled in the theatrical cut, Lucas prioritized the emotional impact and the sense of sudden catastrophe when everything unravels. It makes Anakin's fall feel more heartbreakingly inevitable because he seems more manipulated.
Wow. Okay, so we've looked at characters, tone, entire franchises. When you step back and consider all this, what does it tell us about movies, about film history? It feels so unstable.
That's exactly it. It highlights the incredible fragility of cinema as we know it. Every film is the result of countless choices, and just one different decision in the editing room could create a completely different artifact, a different cultural memory.
Like sliding doors for movies.
Perfectly put. Leave a scene in, maybe The Shining isn't quite the enduring enigma it is.
Yeah.
Keep a line in Iron Man, maybe the MCU unfolds totally differently. It forces you to see films not as fixed objects, but as fluid, contingent creations.
And our relationship with them, our nostalgia, is based on the version we got, not the infinite versions that could have been.
Right. It makes you appreciate the artistry or sometimes the sheer luck that goes into creating the films that resonate with us. But it also invites us to think about those ghost versions. How would you feel about Luke Skywalker or Rose DeWitt-Bukater or the entire Marvel saga if just one key scene had been left in or taken out?
It definitely changes how you think about bonus features, doesn't it? They're not just scraps. They're glimpses into alternate realities.
Absolutely. They are half-formed universes, potential histories. Thinking about them encourages us to look past the finished film and consider the sheer possibility inherent in the creative process.
So as you think about all these cinematic what-ifs, maybe ask yourself, which version resonates more? The movie you know and love, or the shadow version that almost came to be? Because sometimes the absence of a story shapes our world just as much as the story we were told.